If you're a parent and you're struggling with your child's sleep, it is so easy to feel completely alone in that fight. But what if I told you that you're actually part of a massive group?
That up to 30%, 30 of all children experience significant sleep issues. You are so far from alone.
So, if bedtime at your house feels less like winding down and more like you're gearing up for a battle, well, you're in exactly the right place. Welcome to Sleepopedia, a little corner of the internet dedicated to the science of sleep, where we cut through all the noise to find solutions that actually work. And I want you to pay close attention to that subtitle, because this is the most important part. It's a learned behavior. This is not a reflection of your parenting. It's not your fault. It's a pattern. And the great news is patterns can be changed. So what exactly is this thing? Well, think of it this way. It's not about some kind of broken internal clock or a biological problem. It's all about the habits and the associations your child has learned to connect with falling asleep. And honestly, that's fantastic news, because anything that's been learned can be relearned in a better, healthier way. So, to find the right solution, we first have to identify the specific challenge you're up against. Behavioral insomnia, or BIC, usually shows up in one of two main ways. Let's dig in and see which one of these sounds a little too familiar. Okay, so let's break this down. Over on the left, we have what's called Sleep-Onset Association. This is super common with infants. Does your baby need to be rocked or fed or held to finally drift off? That's the association. And the problem is, when they naturally wake up in the middle of the night, which all humans do, they need that same exact thing to get back to sleep. Now, on the right, we have the limit setting type. If you have a toddler, you probably know this one all too well. This is the master of stalling. One more hug. I'm thirsty. Just one more story, please. It's that classic, never-ending test of boundaries. Which one is ringing a bell for you? Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Wait a minute. My kid does both of those things. And yep, that is completely normal. It's so common, in fact, that it has its own name, the combined type. So don't worry if you don't fit neatly into just one of those boxes. Now that we've diagnosed the problem, let's get to the good part, the solutions. We are going to build your personal toolkit with strategies that are backed by decades of solid clinical research. We're not talking about fads or weird internet hacks here. We're talking about pure science. And just how effective are these tools? Well, get this. Clinical reviews show that these behavioral interventions have a success rate of about 94%. Let that sink in for a second. A 94% success rate is, well, it's almost unheard of in any field of medicine. The bottom line? This stuff really, truly works. The trick is matching the right strategy to the right problem. So for those sleep onset issues, the best tool is typically something called graduated extinction. For the limit setting type, the little negotiators, we use bedtime fading. And, if your own anxiety as a parent is a major factor, the chair method can be a really great, gentle starting point. We're going to dive into those first two right now. First up, graduated extinction. You might know it as the Ferber method. The process is pretty straightforward. You do your whole bedtime routine, and then you place your child in their crib while they're still awake. You say goodnight, you leave the room, and if they start crying, you come back to check on them in intervals that get a little bit longer each time. The absolute key here is that the check-in is quick, it's reassuring, but you don't pick them up. So why on earth does this work? It's actually just simple behavioral science. Right now, your presence, you coming in, picking them up, is acting as a powerful reward for the crying. By systematically and gradually removing that reward, the behavior of crying to be picked up eventually just fades away. It extinguishes.
You're not ignoring them. You are teaching them the incredibly valuable life skill of how to soothe themselves.
Okay, now, for those little masters of stalling, there's a different method called bedtime fading. And I'll be honest, this one sounds totally backwards at first, but stick with me because it is brilliant. Instead of fighting with them to go to bed at 8, you actually start by putting them to bed at the time they actually fall asleep, even if that's 9:30 p.m. Then, once they're falling asleep easily for a few nights in a row, you just start dialing it back, moving bedtime earlier by about 15 minutes at a time.
And the reason this works so well is because you're using your child's own biology to your advantage. It's amazing. By starting bedtime when their natural biological drive for sleep, what scientists call sleep pressure, is at its absolute peak, they fall asleep fast. And what that does is it retrains their brain. Their bed stops being a place of struggle and anxiety, and it becomes a place for sleep. You're literally resetting the relationship with their crib.
So, we've covered the problems and we've covered the tools, but the research points to one single factor that is more important than anything else when it comes to success. And I'm telling you, it's probably not what you think. It's not about which method you choose. It's not even about your child's temperament. It's you. This quote from the research, it really says it all. The most significant barrier to a child's sleep is often not the child's behavior, but the parent's emotional resolve. Success really hinges on one thing, your consistency. And what undermines consistency? It's our own confidence, which gets totally derailed by the fear of crying.
So let's just tackle that fear head on, okay? So many parents worry that sleep training is stressful and it's going to harm their child, but the science shows something called the stress paradox. It's fascinating. When researchers actually measured cortisol, that's the body's main stress hormone, they found something stunning. Just look at this chart. The babies who were chronically sleep deprived actually had higher overall stress levels than the babies who went through sleep training and were finally getting that deep, restorative sleep.
What this means is that a little bit of short-term crying can lead to much lower long-term stress. Getting that consolidated sleep actually helps regulate their entire little stress system. So with this knowledge, we can totally reframe our role, right? We're not being mean. We are shifting from being an anxious guardian who's constantly rescuing to being a confident guide who is teaching a crucial life skill. So let's be crystal clear about what decades of follow-up studies tell us about crying during sleep training. First, there is zero, and I mean zero, evidence of long-term harm to the parent-child bond. The crying is a protest because you're changing the rules. It is not a sign of trauma. In fact, by teaching them this skill, you're helping them build a more resilient stress response system. You are giving your child a gift that will last their entire life, the ability to sleep well all on their own.